Right, so let's pick up on accountability and getting back the money stolen during the state capture years. Writing in the Daily Maverick, advocate Paul Hoffman, director of Accountability Now, argues that the criminal justice process can be long and has a high bar for proving guilt, whereas civil claims can be a lot speedier to resolve. He believes there's a quick and efficient way to start the money coming back. Advocate Hoffman joins me now. Good evening and thank you for your time. Before we chat about that, I simply have to ask you for comment on Deputy Chief Justice Raymond Zondo's response to the article by Minister Lindiwe Sisulu, which of course lambasted the Constitution and the judiciary. Do you think he did the right thing in speaking out this afternoon?
Absolutely, Sally. Thank you for the opportunity to talk on this most important subject. Minister Sisulu, who has been in Parliament since the 1990s, when you and I were both much younger, ought to know that her own oath of office obliges her to uphold the Constitution and the law, and that involves not interfering with the work of the judiciary. If she has a legitimate gripe in relation to some or other judgment, or some or other act on the part of a judge or judges or a court, then the Judicial Service Commission is ready and able to deal with her complaint. It seems to me that she is in breach of her own oath of office, and that the only way that she should properly be dealt with at this stage is for the president, at whose pleasure she serves in his cabinet, should fire her. She needs to be dismissed because it seems that she has either taken leave of her senses or participating in what is called the pushback campaign by those who are trying to neutralize or minimize or counter the recommendations and findings in the Zondo Commission report.
Well, let's move on to what's flowing out of the Zondo Commission. News today, of course, that a special task team is going to be set up within the NPA to try and specifically prosecute on the findings from the report. Of course, we've only had the first part. There's still 2 more parts to come. You've also spoken, though, and I found this such an interesting article, saying that there is a quicker way to get the loot back, quicker than going through the criminal court process, which, as we have seen, can take a very long time. Talk me through why civil law is an option.
Yes, I've been punting this line for some years behind the scenes with the National Treasury and with the Department of Public Enterprises, which is responsible for most of the state-owned enterprises in the country. And the thinking is simply this. In a civil case, the proof that is required to get past the post is much easier than the proof that is required beyond a reasonable doubt in criminal proceedings. So if there is loot of state capture, wherever it may be found in the world, and it's possible to trace loot quite successfully these days because all banking transactions are run through what is called the SWIFT banking system, which is the international clearinghouse of all the banks. So you find where the money is, and you approach the court that has jurisdiction over the area in which the money is found, and you ask that the money be seized pending the civil case for it to be paid back. And the experience is that in 9 cases out of 10, the looter realizes that the game is up, does not oppose the proceedings, and the loot is repatriated to the entity from which it has been stolen. And if that was done in South Africa, we could quite quickly get about R1 trillion back, because the loot of state capture has been estimated at between 1 and 1.5 trillion. The unauthorized, irregular expenditure within the public administration is as high as 488 billion. According to the Auditor General.
It's a lot of loot that's got to come back our way, isn't it?
Sloshing around.
Yeah, absolutely. So this freezing of assets...
It has to come back because it's our money.
Yeah. You talk about the Mareva injunction and the freezing of assets. You make the point that the Special Investigating Unit has used this. Have they done this in the way that you describe, using civil law? And have they been successful in grabbing the money back?
Yes, the Special Investigation Unit is a strange creature of statute which does not have any criminal jurisdiction at all. Very often, the work on civil recovery of money done by the SIU is not followed up by the Criminal Justice Administration on the criminal front. You think of Bosasa, 2009, the SIU said it's been a terrible relationship between correctional services and Bosasa. We are seeking to get the money back, but will the NPA please prosecute? And nothing was done about that for 10 years. So there is a problem with capacity and with skill and with will within the NPA. But to answer your question directly, yes, the SIU is successful in its anti-dissipation orders and in its Mareva injunctions, and it tends to operate only in South Africa. The loot obviously is spread all over the world, and in particular in the Emirates. And it doesn't just have to be the money that's stolen. If a flat has been bought, or a yacht, or a Rolls Royce, you can go follow the money all the way to where it has been spent and get the asset. And when that happens, the looter says, oh, this is too difficult to fight about, and moves on to the next looting opportunity.
I hear you. So it's a bit of a calculated risk, but it seems, as you say, it shows that these freezing orders internationally tend to pay off. So let's bring it down to practicalities. We've seen the first part of the state capture report coming out. It's dealt with SAA and SARS and other entities at this point. Are you saying that this report and the findings of this report, which are pretty damning, could actually help boost this type of civil action, and that companies like SAA should absolutely be looking to put in place a Mareva injunction with money that has flowed out of the country?
Yes, I'm afraid that the difficulty is that those in decision-making positions within the state-owned enterprises and the departments of state, with the Gupta's newspaper, it was the GCIS that was looted, really. They simply diverted budget into their nefarious schemes. The difficulty is that there is no political will within South Africa to take the necessary steps, to pass the necessary resolutions, and to instruct suitable attorneys and advocates to do the heavy lifting that is involved in preparing such a case. Now, the lack of political will is informed by two factors. The one is fear that the looters will come after those who seek to recover the loot. And the other is that it's regarded as too difficult to do, which is not the case, in fact, but that's the excuse.
Can I very quickly jump in and just ask? Yeah, a very quick comment from you. We've also seen the business community come out over the last few days saying they are offering their services to help investigate some of these state capture matters, offering their support. Do you think that might help create the capacity and boost the will of those state entities who might want to follow up? Do you think it's a good idea?
Look, it is possible for the National Prosecuting Authority to go to the bar and to get talent in. We've seen Wim Trendgrove in the Zuma prosecution. We know that Jeff Budlender is advising the ID. So to give you a quick answer, the quick answer is that the recovery of assets does not involve the NPA, which is the weak link in the chain when it comes to being proactive about these things. And that really what should be done, if individual looted entities are too scared to do anything, is to cede the claims to a collection agency, a special purpose vehicle that is put together to make that happen, and let the special purpose vehicle proceed with the litigation in the civil courts for the purpose of breaking back the loot. The loot will come in very handy in reforming and recapacitating the anti-corruption machinery of state, so that not only does the money come back, but those who have looted are held to account. That's what needs to happen now.
It sounds almost like a sort of a national debt or loot collector is what we need at this point. Completely fascinating, and thank you so much for chatting to us this evening. Advocate Paul Hoffman, Director of Accountability Now.